Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is.
Hey guys, it's V.
So me and V have had a very interesting hour. It's been fun. So we've just
Can't
had
believe it's
some.
been an hour already.
I know,
An hour? My God.
I know. We've just been doing nothing.
Yeah.
We keep trying to do this recording. So, but I think that we've gotten it figured out. And of course, you guys don't know that, but
There we
now
go.
we do. So that's and I'd mentioned earlier that I had said earlier that we were going to break the internet, and we did, I guess. So
We broke the computer, whatever it is, internet and computer.
it's just terrible. So even though I've said it like 4 times now, Pat's not here this week. Pat is coming back next week. So don't worry, he's not leaving us. He's just had to deal with his own stuff. But he will be back. But that's okay because this
Yeah.
week we have V, and
Yeah.
she's amazing. So, and you guys are gonna, if you don't already know who she is, a lot of you probably do. A lot of you probably recognize her from my Twitter and things like that. But and then I was on her show a couple weeks back. So you guys probably know who she is. But if you don't, you're gonna find out. So that's pretty. That's pretty.
You are gonna find out.
I'm excited about it. So I was mentioning earlier, but I'll explain a little bit more. So last week we had talked about this guy who came forward with these pictures of the thylacine.
Yes.
And V, you said you're not familiar with what the thylacine is that right?
No.
It's basically it's an extinct marsupial from Australia. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they went extinct, I think, probably in the 1920s, 1930s, somewhere around that time period. Now, a part of cryptozoology that a lot of people don't really think about is that cryptozoology is simple. All it is that it's the belief that certain animals exist and we have, kind of enough evidence to say that they do without having direct evidence to say that they do. And the thylacine is kind of one of those things. So what that means for this situation is that a lot of people believe that the thylacine is still around. They also call it the Tasmanian tiger.
Okay.
So there are eyewitness accounts. Some people have really good pictures of this thing that it's what it seems to be. We just have not found a population of them yet to say that, hey, these things are here. They're just endangered. But this guy, Neil Waters, he claims that he had irrefutable evidence that this thing was around. So last week he made the announcement and he comes out and he says, hey, I've got these pictures. I've sent them off to this museum and they are reviewing them. And, once they review them, they're going to know that these things are still around. We can start protecting them and, getting the funding for that from that. Well, the review finally came out, and they had determined that what he actually had pictures of is a separate animal called a patamelon, and they're really adorable. But they did determine that that's what it was, and then he had promised that on March 1st he would actually release the photos to the public so that we could see them. And after seeing them, they do seem to be of a patamelon, and that's very disappointing.
I have to go look it up. I have to go see it right now. I'm getting out my phone right now so I can.
No, the Tasmanian tigers are very interesting looking animals. I mean, I say that they're a marsupial, so when you think of marsupial, I mean, you think of like, kangaroos and stuff like that, but they really don't. They look more kind of like a dog fox thing. I mean, they're really.
Oh, I'm looking at it right now on Google, and you're right. I have heard about this because I've seen pictures of it. I've heard stories. I believe it.
There's good video out there of the things from the zoos and stuff. So I mean, a lot of people think that they're still around, and I do think they are. I think that there's so much evidence that they're probably still around. I just think that this guy, and I don't blame him. I think he just got ahead of himself and got excited, shared the news too quickly, and I think that unfortunately he doesn't have photo evidence of these things. But it's okay. I mean, the search goes on. I think they're still out there. I think it's a matter of time before we get actual evidence. And then we'll see what happens when that breaks. But so that's exciting, I guess, or not. It's kind of depressing, I guess. But
I think it's great.
It is. Well, I mean, it gets the story out there. Even if it's not good evidence, it's exposure for the creatures, and we need that. So
I think so too.
Well, because if they are out there, I mean, we want to protect them. So
I think people like us who like are so, passionate and interested in this, subject and field, it's like these little, things are big victories to us, just because it's like, okay, you see, like, this is why we have this belief and why we do what we do, because the unexplainable can be explained, and yeah, I like it.
I agree. Yes, I agree. So we'll see what transpires in the coming years from this. So.
Exactly.
But in other news, a more personal news, and I think everybody saw, I went to a very fun place this weekend.
I saw that. I saw all the pictures. I'm very jealous, by the way, but I'm so excited that you went.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's called Otherworld, and it's local-ish. I mean, it's in Ohio, but it's
yeah.
But it's basically like this interactive art exhibit, and I mean, and that just doesn't even, even saying that, it really doesn't do it justice, because when you go into these different rooms, and when you go into the different rooms in the different setting, you really become a part of the environment, and it's wild. Yeah. And so, the best example of it, like from the pictures, is like there's like that cartoon room where everything's like kind of yellow. It's like that old timey yellowish color. Everything actually looks like that. Like there's no filters on any of these pictures. Everything looks exactly how you see it. And
that reminds me of like Willy Wonka, dude.
It is. Yes. That's what I was saying. I was like, oh my gosh, this is very Willy Wonka. It is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. I suggest everybody go, because it's, it's like tripping balls without actually doing the drugs. So if you don't want to do the drugs, but you want to trip balls, go to Otherworld in Columbus, Ohio.
That is so cool.
This is a sponsor. It's not. I'm just kidding, but it should be sponsored. It should be. But no, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of what I needed, especially after just being kind of blah the last 2 months, and I haven't been able to get out and do any investigating or anything like that, and so to get out and kind of just do something, it was nice.
So. Of course, change of scenery, right, man? That's what you need.
It was nice. But anyway, I've got a lot of fun stuff coming up this weekend. I know we're going to try to Ann and I are going to try to go do something. I don't know what we're doing yet. Helltown is coming up. I don't think it's quite warm enough for that. So I don't think we're going to do that this weekend, but it's getting there. And then I don't know, but we'll go somewhere and we'll do some spooky searches and see what we might just go back to, honestly, we'll probably just go back to Point Pleasant.
I mean, you always find your way back somehow, right?
Always. Well, we take this big long break, and then we're like, okay, we're done there. It's time to go to Chicago. And something else just continues to pop up, and we find out that there's more we have to do, and so.
Yeah, of course. Always.
We'll get done. But so who is V? Well, guys.
Who am I? Why am I here?
Right. Why is she on this show? Why is she weird? Well, she's super weird, but it's fine.
I know. But that's if there's any way that I could describe myself, would be that I'm weird, and that there's like there's nothing else. And I think it's just because I like that term, because that's not a bad term to me. No. Like, weird to me is so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's awesome. Mysterious,
the cat's meow, right?
It is. It's the cat's meow. Now, creepy is different. Creepy is like, ew.
Creepy. Yeah, creepy, like nowadays, creepy is like, ew, what a creeper.
Yeah, ew, that's gross. Yeah, whereas like weird's like sexy. It's fun.
Yeah, right? Totally.
It's like, we're like taking it over. Yeah, like, oh, that's weird. Yeah. So anyway, so V has a podcast, and she uses her life experiences to share spooky experiences with you guys. But she does other things. So V, kind of explain a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, it's been a long road coming. Since the age of 3, I've had a lot of paranormal experiences in my life. Being a young medium, I had no idea what the hell I was in for. I really I wasn't told about it, or what it, let alone what it was, that people are able to tap into another side, because that young of an age. It's not like you know about death and dying, you know, you're just so
Right.
young. At 3 years old, you know, just experiencing and seeing things was like, I guess, a normality for me at that point. Um, I think it just came up into the point where I was seeing things that I knew others weren't responding, or that I would be talking about something and, you know, someone would be like, how did she know that? You know, and kind of, you know, when people give you, you know, a certain look or they say something, I think as a child, you're like, ooh, did I do something wrong? So therefore, you're like, okay, I'm not going to talk about this because when I bring this up, it's like I feel bad about it, you know, like I'm not supposed to be talking about it. So, um, I've literally experienced not just paranormal, but a lot of unexplained stuff, you know. I'm not just talking about ghosts, you know, just spirits alone. I'm like, you know, creatures and, you know, really a lot of the dark stuff started to, I'd say, torment me, you know, because it's not just like a visit, you know, here and there. It was like literally for so many years growing up. Even till now, you know, there's times when I was like, it's not as bad as it was, not by far, you know,
Sure.
it's definitely a lot different, but it definitely fueled me to, you know, pursue a life that's a lot more spiritual. You know, I grew up Catholic. I'm still, you know, Catholic. I still recognize myself within the church. And I went along a road of, you know, spirituality and starting with like Buddhism and like really starting on this path of healing, you know, mentally, emotionally, and physically in my life. Started doing Reiki, I think, when I was 21. I think I had my first Reiki session. So it just kind of escalated from there, like, you know, natural health and wellness and yoga and all of that. But interest in horror and paranormal, that was like growing up, I was there. I was sitting watching scary movies all the time and shows. Always, you know, I've always had that love, that affinity for the spirit world and the, you know, the dark side of stuff, you know, just because I always felt different, like a black sheep, always different than my peers anyways. So I'm always like, I've always gravitated to that type of lifestyle and energy, even in friendships. You know, I think I gravitate towards people who are very much like me. I would say I'm more of like a introvert.
Oh, are you really?
Like solitary. Yeah, I am totally introverted. Like I can't wait to get home when I'm out. I'm like, yes, I'm having fun. And then all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to like snuggle up in bed again or like
oh, that's so shocking to me. I don't know why. I just
no, like I will totally, yeah, girl, I'll totally go out and I'll party and I'll do what I need to. But then I'm like, I'd rather be home or I'd like by the pool, reading a book, something, you know, like it's not, it used to be me. Like, I think as an empath, I started realizing how much it was affecting me. I was getting so sick, you know, physically and mentally, knowing that first of all, I had to really research and what it, you know, really learn what it meant to be an empath, you know, because someone can be like, oh, you're so empathetic, you're so passionate and loving and caring. But, you know, being an empath there's so many things that come with it. You know, you're feeling and sensing things that aren't yours, you know, emotion. It just doesn't, it goes beyond emotions. You're feeling other people's depression, you know, you're feeling their anxiety as well. And that's really tough, you know, especially when you have it, you know, you might naturally have anxiety, but when you're feeling other people's, you know, it just multiplies by 100. So you feel so, you know, you feel in complete and utter, there's just a loss of control, you know. So I think for myself doing that led me to seek a lot of spiritual healing. So I started seeing a shaman, and I did a lot of practicing with Peruvian shamans, and I've been in ceremonies. I've been, you know, indicted with ceremonial rites. So I've had and been bestowed these rights onto me, which has been a blessing and an honor. So I've had great teachers in my life. From that, I opened up my own business. So I've been in practice for a couple of years, and had to close because of COVID, unfortunately.
Right.
Was my home studio down, but doing massage therapy. I'm a licensed massage therapist, so I incorporated into as um, I'd say like therapeutic arts, because I do massage, but I also do energy work.
Mm-hmm.
So I bring in a lot of my shamanic trainings into it. So I'm doing a lot of like clearing of the chakras and balancing. I also do cleansings on people. So if it's like more spiritual and there's like attachments of energy or spirits, I do cleanse and remove that. I do the same with homes. I was going into people's homes and doing the same thing, like homes that were having issues with energy or spirits. I was going in there, and also people who were moving into new homes are like, can you come bless it? Can you come bless the property? Of course.
Sure, yeah.
But I started feeling like I was drowning, and I'm gonna have an episode coming out about this, but just to be brief and clear about it, when you are a person who has these natural abilities and you're not taking care of yourself, getting enough sleep, or, balancing your life, and all these other things come up, like stress, and of course life, shit happens. Mm-hmm. It's like you get pulled into like this abyss, like you just keep going down and down. And I think you reach a point of like mental exhaustion and like physical exhaustion. I think that's what happened with me, is like, it was like COVID happened, and I know it sounds horrible, but it was kind of a blessing for me because I needed time off. I'd been going nonstop for 3 years, and it took a toll on me. My spirit was really bruised. I needed a break, and it's been wonderful. I miss my clients very much. I still do my readings, so on top of doing all that energy work, I did a lot of tarot. So tarot cards, oracle cards. I'm also clairvoyant and a medium, so I do readings on that level as well for people whose loved ones have crossed over. So I still do that, for my loved ones and my friends who reach out and need something. But that's been my journey. So I can't, if you don't stop me, Ashers, I'll talk. So stop me right now.
Okay, we'll stop you. We'll back up a little bit, because one thing that I try to, and I have a hard time remembering this too, is that people do come here to learn about instances of high strangeness and just the general weird, right, the things that go on in the world that are fringe. And, but the one thing that, like I said, I always seem to forget is that not everybody does this full time, like I do, or like you do. And, so they don't know, they don't know. So we'll slow it down just a little bit. And we'll kind of go back now. Obviously we're not going to be able to get through your whole life story. That's what your show is. That's what, you
exactly.
do. So, but when was the first time you remember speaking to a spirit?
It was when I was about 3, going on 4 years old. I used to have this spirit named Bob come visit me. He told me his name was Bob, and I still remember him, a belly on him with his pale blue shirt with his, khakis on, belt, dressed up nice. He would just come, and I thought he was like my neighbor, and I was like, hey, hey Bob. Just thought he was like visiting my parents or something. And sure. And I was always downstairs playing with my toys, and the laundry room was like my favorite place. I don't know why, but I would be playing down there, and he'd always show up, and I'd see him in the backyard, from the sun deck, and I'd look down, and he'd just like wave at me. I'm like, oh, what's up, Bob? He was very caring. He was very loving. And I think when people were not responding back to him, that's when I was like, okay, like, did he do something wrong to them? And I think that's when I knew. I was like, okay. But I didn't recognize it. I just thought that he was just another I don't know, like they were ignoring him for a reason. You know what I mean?
They didn't like Bob. He smelled funny.
Yeah. Why don't they like him? Exactly. It smells funny.
They're just mean. Everybody's just so mean to Bob. Oh, that's so funny. That's oh well. I mean, I from a child's perspective, yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that is what you would think. You wouldn't.
Yeah,
It's not like people. It's not like you're born and everybody's like, oh, there's spirits and
exactly.
they might talk to you and who knows.
That was the first time, right after Bob in that same house, I experienced something, but it was really darker though. It was like, I was playing down there too, and there was a big, tall, it was massive, I think, in height and all black, cloaked,
Mhm.
no face. It kind of looked like that spirit from Spirited Away,
Okay. Yeah.
was all black and hooded like that. It reminded me so much of that. And as soon as it appeared, I saw this bright light from behind me that shone. I mean, it was like someone turned their brights on, and that thing just like disappeared. And I'm not sure if it was Bob, or something
Okay.
else came and like protected me from it. But I remember being at that age and thinking like I was dreaming. I really thought I was dreaming at that point, but I wasn't. Right after that, I heard my mom calling me up to go to the kitchen. So it was like I kind of walked up and I was like in a daze. I was like, did that just happen? What did I do? What the heck was that?
Wow. That's very intense
That was freaky. Yeah.
for a child to have to take, especially because when you look back at these memories as an adult, and you always wonder like how much of that is my own memory embellishing some of it, is it leaving certain parts out,
It does
what
scare me. Yeah. It does.
right. You just
Mm-hmm.
because you can't, I mean, it's so long ago and then it's such a big event that, again, it would be pretty easy for a child's mind to, twist it and morph it into something. Not
Exactly.
saying, not, I'm not minimizing it. It could have been
No, no, no.
worse. I don't know. But
No, there's time. No, I completely understand. Totally. I've asked myself that a lot, many times.
you're right. And you're just like, you think about it and I mean, you never really, even though it happened to you and it's your experience, you just never really know going forward. And it's
No,
weird. It's a really strange feeling when that happens. So
definitely.
when were you able to recognize then that this was not normal? This was not something that everybody could do, that you were talking to
Mm.
spirits.
I think it was when I played that really bad game I shouldn't have played.
Oh,
In
okay.
elementary school, I call it the devil's game because that's what we were doing. We were basically calling on the devil.
Oh.
And,
You guys were
yeah,
weird kids. I'm just kidding.
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's when I say I'm weird. I am weird. Uh, the people I was hanging out with, the girls, it was like back in the day, I was like, ghost stories and goosebumps. Are you afraid of
Yeah.
dark? Everyone was like talking about, all of that, Candyman, the Chupacabra. It was all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Playground,
Same.
playground gossip. But, start off doing stupid shit like, light as a feather, stiff as a board,
Sure.
at recess. But then it was like one of the girls was more like, I'd say she was a little bit unhinged than obviously all of us. But
We're not just
she
not gonna know
wanted
who
to,
she is. Is she? Are you
yeah,
are you gonna out her on this?
I don't know. No, I don't even know who, she's done with her life. But like, she just wanted to play this game. She's like, we're gonna lay down and we're gonna put this red jacket over us and we're gonna call uh, on a spirit. We're gonna play a game. I just didn't know what we were gonna do. I didn't think we were to call on the devil. So I was like, fine, I'm not a chicken. I'm gonna lay down. So when she put the jacket over me, that's when she's like, okay, I want you to leave your eyes open and I want you to call on the devil. And I was like, in my head, I knew it was wrong, because like
Right.
obviously Catholic school, you're like the devil is
Sure.
the worst of the worst. But I still did it. And, I talk about it on my show. Like shit just happened. That night it was really weird, but like I remember feeling so guilty about it. Like I told my mom. And I think that was a moment when I was like, crap, like why am I into this? Like why am I so um like not obsessed, but like why am I interested in interested in this stuff when other people aren't? I see things and I talk to them, but other people don't respond to them, and I'm doing stuff like this. Like, is there something wrong with me? That's
Mhm.
when it hit me. I was like, I think six or seven when I did that. So that's
Wow.
when I'd be, more conscious. I don't know if it's just the age when a child reaches that age and they're just more self-aware and they're more conscientious
Yeah.
as to like what people think about them. That's when I really started caring what people were thinking. It would happen in class too. I would hear something telepathically and I would respond to my friend and they'd be like, I didn't call you, and so it's, oh, Vanessa gets in trouble for in class for talking. But, you know,
Wow.
I was talking to them when they weren't even talking to me. That is probably the day when I was like, oh, okay, this is scary, so
Wow. Wow. That's pretty interesting.
yeah.
Now, you mentioned the term earlier, the natural gifts.
Hmm.
So do you don't think that everybody can do this, or do you think that maybe everybody can do it, but some people are just kind of predestined to have to do it because it's
I Yeah, no, you hit it right there. I think there's a lot of people who are predestined to have certain gifts. Like all of us have a purpose, but I think some of us more than others have them. Some of us have them really low. I think that if you were able to like work on that and expand on it, it could definitely work. By my experience, there's just some people, I think the openness of it and the willingness has a lot to do with it too.
yeah.
Because throughout high school, I turned it down because I just wanted to fit in. I didn't want any of this to follow me. So I definitely tuned out. I didn't turn it off. I don't think you can completely, but I think all of us in respect have that intuition,
Yeah.
and I think that, yeah, I think we're all born with it. Like I said, more than others, but yeah, I think,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, because I mean, which I haven't gotten too much into on the show, but I have my own things that have been going
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
that
yeah.
that I have
Mhm,
personally tried to continue to shut off and be like, nope,
mhm.
this isn't real. This isn't real. And it kind of got to the point to where I didn't really have a choice anymore of whether or not it was going to be shut off. And so, and obviously that doesn't happen to everybody. And I know that that doesn't happen to everybody. So, of course, I don't know, what I personally think. But, for somebody, I know that I don't think it's something that I've like actively been involved with my entire life. So,
Mhm.
but something that has been going on for, a decent amount of it, but I was able to just be like, nope, that's not it. And just set it
Yeah.
aside. So, I think that that's a pretty, interesting answer to it all. Because, I kind of agree. Now, do you think it's possibly a part of the human evolution? Are we maybe like we have, whenever we evolve,
Yeah.
it happens slowly. Like our tailbones are slowly coming off, right?
There you go.
And
Yeah.
so every generation you'll have a couple more kids that have a shorter bone, but not all of them, right? Some will still, most will still have it, but a couple of them
Mhm.
they'll have a shorter one. They'll go on to have kids with other people, and then eventually it just kind of grows, right, over generations. Do you think
Mhm.
that this is probably something similar to that?
I think so. Like you hear about the indigo children, right? And like the rainbow children, the crystal children.
Yeah.
I know that's like in that order. I know that I'm like considered an indigo child because of the years line up. So yeah, I think that that's just generational, and it's in our history. I believe things are changing. Things
Mhm.
are definitely shifting in our world. But yeah, I look at shows like Ancient Aliens, one of my favorite shows, and then it's kind of like what you just said. I think that genetically and with evolution and everything, I think that um, some of us are born and have these gifts and abilities that are passed on to us in our DNA. I know that I'm like a third or fourth generation um, sensitive, and intuitive,
Okay.
in my blood to have it. A lot of my grandmothers had it, great grandmothers, and these not just like psychic abilities and intuitive abilities, but also like healing abilities. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The different
Hmm.
gifts. I know we did an entire episode on different, like, well, I call them gifts. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's the proper
I call them too.
terminology.
I call them gifts. Yeah. Yeah.
Gifts. I mean, because it there's so much to it. It's not just like, oh, I can talk to the dead. Oh, I can heal
Yeah,
people.
totally.
I
It's a
can
lot.
read people. Right. It's a lot. And
Hmm.
so putting him under that blanket term, I think is good. But yeah, we did a whole episode on it at one point, just kind of explaining the different things that different people have. Like
Yeah.
I can't draw at all. Like I
Hmm.
can't draw worth a shit. Like if I draw a single person,
Yeah.
you'll have no idea what it is. It's terrible.
Same. I
I
hate
cannot
drawing.
draw.
Same. Hmm.
But I'm really good at makeup, and it's weird,
Yeah, you
right?
are.
I'm good, right? I'm really good at makeup, so it's like, so it's like there is some type of artistic ability. It's just it's not drawing, like
It's
so.
not.
And I think that
It's not
that's
in your.
very well. I think that's very similar to these
Hmm.
types of things. Is that could I be good at drawing? A lot of people say that it is a learned skill. I probably could if I put the time and effort into it to learn it. Um,
Hmm.
but again, same things applies to when you're talking about these spiritual gifts. I mean, you could learn these things. It's just that you have to be willing to put in the work to do it.
A
But some
hundred
people
percent.
are just kind of born with it. So
Yeah, exactly. Totally. I can't agree with you more. That's exactly what it is.
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple concept, I think. But so
Hmm.
now you do this and you help people with their own, now that you've kind of gotten a better handle on things. And now life is a mystery. I have a lady that I'm hoping I'll have her on the show.
Hmm.
She's a very interesting character. She is in her 60s, and she has also been taught. She's also been taught by shamans, and she's actually through different cultures and
Wow.
picked up different things from different people. Yeah, she's pretty great.
Hmm.
But even at 60 years old, and she'll tell you there's so much that she doesn't understand, and she's just trying to find the answers to these
Oh,
things.
yeah. That's
Um,
amazing. Hmm.
it is. Yeah, it is. No, it really is amazing. But all of this stuff is like that. I myself, I have been really trying to learn astrology and numerology.
Ooh, yeah. I love that.
And
Hmm.
yeah, and it's great. It's fantastic. A lot of people, it makes me so annoyed. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't identify with my zodiac, so astrology is not real." And it's like, what you don't understand is that you have an entire chart.
Yeah. Maybe that's why, let's read your chart and I bet you I can prove that.
Right. Like, let me I think I sent a tweet out the other day, and I was saying that people say they don't identify with their sun sign, but then you go and look at their Mercury and it's an Aries, and it's like, well, imagine
Oh,
that.
wow. Okay,
Because
there's your explanation right there. Proof is in the pudding.
and I know people that don't talk the stars don't understand that reference, but just look at your damn birth chart. You'll figure it out.
Exactly.
Um, but with that kind of stuff, it wasn't something that I could just sit down and learn in a week.
Yeah.
It's stuff that
Hmm.
you are always learning about all the time as you continue
All
to.
the time. Yeah, you never stop learning. You
Right.
never do. I never say that I'm enlightened or anything like that.
No,
You're
no.
gonna definitely evolve and learn something new every day.
Well, and you have a lot of people that will make these big claims and stuff like that. If
Yeah,
somebody does say that they're enlightened, they don't know anything. You
I don't
walk
think
away
so.
from that person
No, no.
because
Exactly.
they don't know shit. And so it's like that. So you'll continue to learn as you go, but now that but you do kind of get a general grasp on the
Yeah,
things that you've learned. And so now
totally.
that you've kind of entered that stage in your life, you've decided to take that and apply it to other people.
Yeah.
um what is one of the most fulfilling experiences that you've had with it? Of course, if you don't mind sharing these things, I know it's other people's stuff. Don't
Yeah.
name names. But what's the best experience that you felt that you've really made an impact on someone?
I think when I do readings for people and I'm able to like give them peace and clarity over things that have been bothering them, that's my favorite part. Whether it's healing through like my energy work and massages or my readings, it's so fulfilling for me when I'm helping somebody. I mean, that's my life's mission and my soul contract here on earth, I feel, is to really help people, and spread that that light and healing in people's lives. So I think that's the best part for me, and it's every time when I'm able to help somebody, that's what makes it for me.
Okay, okay. Well, I think that's a really good.
Yeah.
I think that's a good answer. Now, this is going to be the one everybody's going to want to hear. What is the scariest experience that you've had with helping other people?
I think the scariest one, oh man, I don't know. I think there's two of them
Okay.
that come to mind right away. But like the first one, I won't say its name because I
Sure.
won't, I don't believe in saying demons' names at all. But I did have a client come to me who was 18 years old and was playing with the Ouija board with her friends, and she had something come through. So let's just say it like that. And this,
Is it the big popular one? A lot of people will know who he is. Is it the big popular
yeah,
one?
it's
Okay.
the big popular
Yeah.
one.
Yep.
And I mean, I get chills just thinking about it. So yeah, it was it was like disguising itself at first, but when I knew something was wrong, I asked her about it, and the first thing I saw in my head was the Ouija board. I
Yeah.
was like, shit, that's not what you do. Are you kidding me? But you know, I was able to um, help her with that. It was really hard and it was really scary, but that's probably the last time I ever did that, to be honest with you, girl. As soon as my son was born, I didn't even go near that, you know, and then COVID happened because I was like, that was just too much for me. You know, it was too scary. It was too real. And
Yeah.
I think it was when I was going toe to toe trying to help her, you know, release from it, from its grasp, having her voice change and all this other stuff that was the scariest part. But like at that point, I knew I wasn't supposed to show any type of fear. But like looking back on it now, I'm just like, oof, I'm just so glad, you know, because it could have ended a lot badly. She's still doing good in her life and doing well, but like I won't ever do that ever again, you know.
So while we are talking about this, and I am taking a video.
Yeah.
I record in my bedroom and I've got these curtains hanging up. So while we're talking about this, my one of my curtain panels is moving, just one of them.
Nice.
So
We won't talk about it then.
I need to start a Patreon. That's a Patreon exclusive right there. You guys
Yeah.
could pay me money and I'll show it to you. I'm just kidding. I'll show it to you for free. I'm nice.
Nice.
But but that's well, so there's that. Well, I've been talking about this haunting that's been happening in my bedroom lately, and I don't know
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
You never told me that.
Yeah, it's been something. It's been really interesting. I had a well, and I might have told you, well, actually, in probably our first meeting, I think we were on the same episode, and I was kind of talking about it, but it's like progressed. But I had an instance where I was sitting in my living room one day, and my bedrooms in my apartment, like the doors are closed, and all of a sudden one of the doors opens, and I look around. I have two cats and a daughter, and I look around, and both cats are in the living room, my daughter's in the living room, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that happened. And then one day I've been on this crazy spring cleaning kick, and I'm like putting stuff underneath my bed. I like cleaned my bed out completely, took everything out from underneath it. I bought these like storage containers, and I was like trying to put them under, and like the one I was like trying to put it under the bed and it wouldn't go. And so I'm like, okay. So I like reach under the bed and my hand touched something fuzzy, and I pulled it out real quick. And then I look on top of the bed, both cats are on top of the bed. And there was nothing there.
That's so creepy.
There was nothing there. And then like the one day, I'm going to my bathroom. My bathroom is right across the hall from my bedroom. And I have a teeny tiny apartment bathroom. So I use the restroom, I walk out, and I turn around to like shut the light off. And when I do this, I turn around and I look in the mirror, and I can see this thing in the mirror, through the mirror, standing in the corner of my bathroom, and it's orange. And then, of course, I avert my eyes over there, and it's not there. So and every time it's something like this, for me personally, anyway, initially it is scary. You're like, oh,
jeez, yeah.
You're kind of caught by surprise, and then you remember who the fuck you are, and you're like, oh well.
That's exactly what I think too. Exactly.
Right. You're just like, oh, it's me. So I'm like, so I look at it, and I tell it, I'm like, listen, you need to get out of here. You can't be doing that. Because I already told it, I'm like, if you don't cause any issues, you can stay. But if you cause problems, you need to get the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it's still been here. and
Hmm.
I'm, letting it hang out for now. And, but there's been other, but those are like the main heavy hitters. So yeah, so like I said, right
This,
now we're,
yeah, so weird.
I think it's trying, I think he's trying to get my attention. I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird.
He wants, but he can go fuck himself for now. I'm busy. Um,
Get the fuck away.
right. You can go on somewhere. So anyway, is there anything that you've ever come across with somebody? Has anybody ever reached out to help for help to you, and it's something that is beyond your scope, or just something it's too big, it's too big of a bite for you to chew, or anything like that?
Yeah, I could have said, like, if I would have known with that case, I would have never taken it. There has been other stuff where I'm just like, no, that's just too much. Since then, I've had other potential clients reach out to me to do the same kind of thing where it's like, you know, releasing and taking something away from them or from their home, and I'm just like, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to touch it at all. So I think another part would be, man, I'm trying to think. I did have a case a while ago where this woman had called me about her and her daughter having issues with their house. So I went, and I think it was the time I was blessing the outside of her home, and when I was trying to get inside, when I was about to get inside, I was trying to light the sage, and when I lit it, my whole arm caught on fire. Like it just went like up. Yeah, like in Christmas Vacation, with Clark. Like that thing just, my arm was like, whew, and I was like, what? And I have witnesses. There's like 3 witnesses there who were there present for the house blessing, but there was just too much. That was so many cases wrapped into one, and I was like, you know what? I have other resources. When I can't do something, I'll send them to somebody else. So I have a lot of great people here in Arizona that really help me, like if a case is too big for me, just to do. And sometimes I just won't do it because personally, I don't want to, because I have kids and I want to come home. And no matter how big and bad someone says they are, like, you can't stop the darkness from following you, no matter how much you want to. I love my home. My home feels safe and secure, and that's how I want to keep it. So I think that's why I haven't taken on any new cases like that, because once it's beyond me and I'm done with it, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. Well, you're definitely right. Your home is definitely your safe haven, and like you said, when you got kids. Kids are so easy to feed off of because they don't understand. And, so unless your kids are, unless you're actively like training your kids in this kind of life and, things like that.
Yeah. I'm definitely teaching them. Like, my 3-year-old's already learning how to like be calm, and my 7-year-old is learning how to like take care of his crown chakra. So we do things to like help him close that. And he knows all about what I do, and crystals are under his bed, and herbs and satchels and stuff. So he knows, but like I'm trying to bring him up so that he's not scared, because like I definitely project what happened to me onto my kids, and that's why I don't take a lot of these big cases, because it's like I don't want my kids to grow up the way I did, because it was truly traumatizing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I understand. Well, my kid, she. I try to keep a very open, religious and spiritual road with her. I don't want to feel like, or make her feel like I'm pressuring her or, influencing her at all. I want her to come to these conclusions. Okay.
Yeah.
I want her to come to these conclusions on her own, and,
That's awesome.
Right. And so I don't push her. Now, of course, we live in America, so she is all about, Christianity and things like that, which is interesting because I'm not. But I don't challenge her on those things. Not yet, anyway. And even if I did, it's not my place to tell her, what is or isn't. I tell people all the time, I haven't died. I don't know what the hell happens. I'm not gonna you're wrong. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're wrong. I know, because I don't fucking know. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
that's on her. But we
Same.
have done different things like I've been having her do like new moon and full moon rituals and things like that. She does them
Oh,
together.
that's great. I love it.
It's been well, it was really sweet because the first one she ever did, it was pretty great actually. The first one she ever did, she asked for, silly stuff. And she was just I do a lot of like candle spells and manifesting. That's
Hmm.
kind of my specialty. I know you
Yeah.
know this, but
Yeah, I do it. I do the same. Yeah.
but so I'm like kind of teaching her, and she put like great stuff on it, like, oh, she wants a swimming pool, and
Yes, so cute.
but she put like
Hmm.
little stuff, like one of our cats isn't like a huge fan of her, so she just like
Hmm.
said that like she hopes that he warms up to her, and he did, of course.
Oh, cute. Yeah.
But the next morning we leave because we do this all at night. We went outside, we looked at the moon for a while, and that was just kind of I was just putting on the show for her. And
Hmm.
we go back in the house. The next morning we wake up and we leave the house, and while we're walking to the car, she looks on the ground and she finds a piece of crystal quartz.
No.
Yeah, and she picks it up and she tells me that it's from the moon. The moon sent it to her.
That is so. No, that's the cutest story I've heard in a while. That's so cute.
It was good. She still has it. Yeah. So she's learning, and of course she's doing, she's peppering it into her daily life and things like
Hmm.
that. But again,
That's
that's on,
great.
it's her path. I want her to do what she needs to do.
Hmm.
However, I'm not going to keep the things from her because I genuinely believe that these things are, legit and things like that.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I do things a little differently because I am very much into science. I think that we can prove these things with science.
Hmm.
Have you ever had like a brain scan or anything like that done?
I haven't. I've just been told, with the concussions I've had, obviously,
Sure.
and with the not issues. I don't like to call them issues. I don't have issues. Obviously, our mental health is important, and all of us
You have
deal with
issues. We all do. It's fine.
true.
Don't be humble.
Obviously, my the prefrontal cortex obviously has had damage to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's something that I've always wanted to do and to get. I've seen probably the best and the best in the field. That is something my parents did do, was to get me into therapy. So I've literally been seeing a therapist since I was like 11.
Yeah.
Um, and like wonderful people, like legit awesome people. I actually have had tests done with a
Okay.
therapy, and she was able to hook me up to like machines and do all these things. And having like professional people actually tell you like, okay, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's good. Like, I obviously had like PTSD and
Yeah.
a high anxiety, and because of the trauma I sustained when I was a little girl,
Mm.
through the PTSD, once you get older and another traumatic thing happens, it triggers bipolar too. So it's not like I have like bipolar 1, which is like really, really hard and difficult for people to deal with. Mine is more triggered through like stress and because of my PTSD and traumas, right? So I'd say like through those tests I did with her, I felt like a lot of clarity and confirmation. I think I was like 27 or something when
Yeah.
I had it done. And she didn't see anything on there. So that like helped me because I think when you do have these abilities, you question yourself so much and you're like, am I crazy?
Yes.
What's going on? And like, no, I
I feel.
seriously,
Yes.
I remember even asking my parents, like, how much is it to get those those things where they take pictures of your brain? Like, I remember being small and asking because I was like, I wanted to know, like what is going on?
Well, because mental illness is valid. I mean, people do,
It's totally, yeah.
have
Hmm.
that sometimes, and but it is difficult because, which I kind of had like we kind of talked about the other day how people that seem to have these gifts seem to be I don't want to say sickly, but they seem to have issues.
Yeah, we do.
And not just like mental health issues, but a lot of physical issues and things like that.
Health.
Right, just a lot of health issues in general, and so it can be difficult because you don't know, like you're aware, you're like, I know that something's wrong with me, like mentally, but I don't know if it's that I'm so damaged to the point to where I'm my judgment's clouded and these things aren't happening, or it is a big problem in the community. There's all kinds of support groups and things like that for people with these issues to kind of know what's real and what's not. But it just depends. But then again, I mean, I've talked with other people before about it, and it's like, well, what if the person standing on the street corner screaming about the end is nigh is maybe they actually do know something.
Exactly. We don't know. We don't know. Right?
Assume that it's so far-fetched. They've got such great ideas that, it's so far-fetched it just can't possibly be the truth. But, at the end of the day, it could be. I also have this like kind of working theory that I've been talking about a little bit more because I've kind of been digging deep into it, is that like some people, there's this man who says that he raised a dog man from a puppy on.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what he says. And he says that the dog man, he accidentally he shot and killed it while they were in a battle with Bigfoot. And,
what?
Yeah. And so I get a lot of interesting characters talking to me all the time. And
I bet.
Everybody, yes. And I love to hear everybody's stories. However, you got I say it all the time, you get three types of people. You get the people that are lying for their 15 minutes of fame.
You
got the people that are mentally ill. And then you have the people that are telling the truth. Well, in order to get to that point of knowing, whether or not it could be true, is that, for one, there's a lot of tactics involved. I have my own special skill set where, I'm pretty good at reading these people. But you got to get to know the people. You got to build some type of trust and get there. Now, this gentleman tells us, like I said, this story about this dog man that he raised and how he shot and killed it during this attack, that his home was being attacked by not just one Bigfoot, but like a group of big feet, I guess.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I've never heard that. Yeah, I've heard stories of that. Like, I had, someone that I know kept, their loved one or somebody in a cellar because they said they were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a dog man, but like a werewolf or something that would change, and I'm like, lycanthropy or something? No, and it's straight up werewolf. I'm like, okay. And why is that hard to believe when I have the gifts that I have? You know what I mean? But I do believe 110% that there are creatures out there that, we were just talking about that earlier, just because there's no hardcore evidence, there's just parts of us that know they do exist,
Exactly.
They must. Yeah.
Well, so, anyway, so going back to this guy, he's very vocal about his situation. He'll tell you all about it. I don't think that he actually had a dog man. I mean, I think that we did a Dogman episode. At that point in time, I did not believe in Dogman. However, since then, I've some pretty good stories, and I my opinion's been changed a little bit. But I don't think this gentleman owned a Dogman. I think what happened, and I don't know this for sure, I think that he did own a dog, probably a large dog.
Yeah.
I think that maybe him and this dog, he took hunting with him a lot, and I think that maybe they were out hunting one day and he accidentally shot and killed his dog. And it was traumatic because some of us have really close relationship with our pets. I think that this was that situation. And I think that he has twisted this story, and his way of dealing with that has been to create this bigger, grander picture of the story. So, and I think that happens a lot. I mean, I think that
it does. That scares me though, because that's true. It does happen a lot, and that's what's scary. Yeah.
It's very it manifests in such strange ways. So then we kind of create these creatures, and even though they're not real, it doesn't make them any less real to us when we create them. So again, I think that dogmen are legitimate. If any dogmen are listening, I believe in you. just in case. But I think that in some cases, like I said, in this case, especially I just personally, I believe that, which I don't have any confirmation except for my own intuition. So, I mean, if that means anything to anybody.
Yeah.
But, and that's not the only case that I've worked with, with this kind of situation. But it has been kind of a new thing that I've been following and wondering if that's what it is. Now, on the flip side of that, we have people that do have legitimate experiences of high strangeness, and then they can't process what's happening, so they turn it into something that's kind of everyday and normal, or they just completely block those memories out.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just, trauma is one of those things that can manifest differently. So
it is. Isn't that how like the movie The Others with Nicole Kidman was? Like, she killed her kids and she like deals with it her own way. You remember that?
No, I haven't watched that one.
Oh my god. Okay, god. I'm spoiler. I just realized, hello, you're on a recording. People are going to listen to this. What is wrong with me? Sorry. Sorry,
no.
guys. You can edit this out. If you can edit this out, thank you. I'd be appreciative of that.
No, it's okay. No, it's fine. No, I haven't seen that one, but that, I mean, that's basically, yeah. I mean, that's the concept you were getting at there. Well, speaking of movies, you mentioned that you really like horror. We've kind of talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm obviously I'm part of the community. I've kind of been like, I don't know, dragged in the community. I shouldn't say that. That makes it sound violent. They've just been super welcoming. What horror movie would you say probably emulates the kind of supernatural paranormal stuff that you deal with accurately? Is there anything that you think is a good depiction of what you kind of go through and handle?
Yeah, I think the Poltergeist movies is what really interested me. And as a child, like, I was so drawn to them because I was like, oh my god, this little girl is like me. You know what I mean? Not to that extent. Like, some of the stuff she went through obviously was crazy. I didn't get sucked into like a vortex, obviously. Yeah, exactly. But I remember like just feeling so scared when I watched it, but I needed to see it again and again and again. So I've seen it thousands of times, I think, since I was a kid, but it's still my favorite movie of all time. But I'd have to say that one, that's probably the best. Yeah, exactly.
I think so. Well, because it is like it's like a reality on top of your own. When I try to explain like how you see these things to people, it's not like I don't see things. I'm also, I don't talk about this one a lot. My ex's dad, I guess haunts. I don't know if he haunts me. I don't know if he follows me. I don't know. He won't leave me alone. And so what I explain to people is that, like, I don't see this. He's not physically standing there, but he's standing there, and I know he's there, and I can see him standing there, but I also can't see him standing there.
Yeah, that's kind of like how clairvoyance is. Like, that's how mine works too. Until I was like, oh, all the things I thought was crazy, and like, oh my god, Vanessa, that's too out there. Like, that doesn't seem real. It was, I was literally getting stuff, but I just didn't know. I didn't know how to use it. I didn't know. So.
Well, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like a blink and you miss it type of moment. And I had it happen the other day because I will be talked at or talked to or something, but it manifests itself as a thought, not an actual voice. And so like my friend was talking about, she's taking her kids on vacation, and she was telling the father of her children that they were going on vacation, and she was expecting a bad response. And so, she just texted me, and she's like, oh, I told him, do you want to guess what his response is? And at first, like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, it was probably bad. And I hadn't responded yet. But then all of a sudden, something happened, and you feel it, but it's so subtle, like, and something switched over. And it was like, he wanted to go. He asked to go. That's what I said. I texted her. I said, he wanted to go. She's like, how do you always know everything? I'm like, I don't. They tell me everything.
There you go. It's that part. It's that part of you. Exactly.
But, it's so weird because, like I said, the way it manifests is not like, it's not just like this voice that's over talking you all the time. It's more like a feeling.
It's a feeling. Thank you. Exactly. It's like I get messed, like, how newscasters read off what they're saying on the news. They have that oh my god, please help me,
the teleprompter.
There you go. It's a teleprompter in my head. That's what I get. Exactly.
It is.
Like, I know what the person is saying, if it's a spirit, you know, or in the distant, you know, past or, you know, future, whatever it is, I'll see it, you know, I'll see it in there.
And your thoughts kind of stop, like your brain kind of shuts off for a minute while this thing kind of comes in and
Oh
works
yeah.
and kind of just is like, hey, this is in it. I don't know. It's hard to explain if people don't know, if they've never experienced it. So I guess that's what I'm trying to do, is explain to
Yeah.
people that have never had this happen before what it's
Mhm.
like to have something like that happen. It's not
Yeah.
like it's not like in That's So Raven. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
Oh, I was brought up on that. Oh my God, I love her. Yeah, that's so
you know,
Raven.
but it
Mhm.
doesn't really happen like that. Like, she would like stop and pause and kind of, they almost kind of got it because you kind of get
Yeah.
the blankness, like I said, in your brain. But you don't like really see it. It's just all of a sudden you just know.
Yeah, and you can get like puzzle pieces, you know, like it's not like one big vision. And like there's some of them that come like puzzle pieces. Like it doesn't have another piece to it. Like you just get told pieces. You know what I
Right.
mean? You have to piece them together. So
You do, and then
yeah.
you're like, and then like you'll get something new added to it, and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense because that connects this to, okay, I get it
Yeah.
now. It's
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly.
it's so hard to explain. But yeah, that is, I mean, that is basically how it is. It's a really interesting way to kind of live. But I do think that a lot of people probably just don't even realize that that's what's happening,
Mhm.
to them.
No.
And
No, they don't. Exactly.
and it
It's
happens so
hard.
often, right? It is. It's a hard thing to kind of recognize, but once you know, then you can kind of start recognizing the feeling and like what's
Mhm.
kind of coming on, like, and then you're like, oh, okay, here it is, and you can kind of, you perfect it. Then you get a little better. Now sometimes again, it's kind of forced on you. You don't really have the
Mm.
choice, and
No, you don't. Exactly.
that's
Hard.
what's happened with my ex's father. I didn't
Mhm.
choose that. I didn't try to reach out to him at all. He just was like, hey, I'm here now. This is, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
um
Wow.
Sometimes it just happens, and sometimes you just know things. I don't know. So it's interesting. What kind of tips would you give for people that are looking into maybe trying to tap into that side of themselves?
Hmm. Tips.
I know it's probably
It's kind of
difficult
like,
because you just have
yeah, no, it's true. No, it's like, you know, you wouldn't just tell your kid to just get in a car and drive, you know, it takes practice.
yeah,
So I'd say like you have to do something when you're ready. You can obviously get behind a wheel the first time when you're like drunk or, you know, you're erratic and angry. You have to have your mind cleared. You have to be ready. So it's the same thing with these gifts. Like you just have to be ready. You have to have your mind open and you know, go in with heart and mind full of, you know, peace and openness because, you know, the moment that you come in with bitterness or, you know, cynicism, it's kind of like it brings in that negative energy and it just
yeah,
doesn't work, you know, it doesn't work as well. Staying balanced means like sleeping a lot, getting good rests, eating well, and also taking some form of like prayer, whether it's meditating or heck, I mean, shoot, sometimes it's like working out, you know, like it could
yeah,
be playing basketball, whatever it is, as long as like you're taking time out for you. It makes it a lot more easier when you're saging yourself. You know, I also think people have to do that who are like this, who are sensitives and empathics, at least once a week. If you can't do it every day, do it every week. You know, clean clean yourself up. You know, that's what I feel when I'm doing that. I'm just literally I'm cleaning myself up. You know, I'm getting myself pulled back together when I sage myself. So um, I'd say those are the things that you can do. Also, finding somebody like-minded like you in your community. That's the biggest thing is you have to have support. You
yeah.
know, I feel like because I was so supported and had the really great teachers and also people in this community who helped me, um, I would say I'm so grateful for it, but not a lot of people have that. You know, I waited my whole life to have this kind of community and support, you know, because this is a very lonely path to be
Yes.
on, you know, very.
And it's hard, I'll say that, especially somebody that's coming into this very new. It's hard to like speak your truth and feel validated because you can't just go tell everybody that like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
I talked to these
exactly.
spirits, because it sounds crazy, right? I mean, it sounds
It
nuts.
does. Yeah,
And you
I
feel nuts.
and that's something like I don't do. Like I don't go up to people. I know others that do that, but like I'm just, when I'm off of like my podcast or off, not on social media anymore, I like, it's not like I turn into somebody who I'm not or who I really am,
Oh,
but like I definitely don't like giving people too much of myself. So I I come home and it's like, I don't know, like I'm in a good place, like I feel safe and secure, you know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't have that, and it's just really hard. It's just
Well,
really
and
hard.
a lot of people don't realize like yes, you have these things and that's great and
Yeah.
wonderful. It does make you different, but like at the end of the day, like you still have to go down to the DMV and get your license renewed and like
There you go. Exactly.
all check.
Hmm.
You're still
Exactly.
just a regular person just trying to, live your life and
Exactly. That's how I am too. Hmm.
right.
You
So
have to.
it's not going to do you any good to, go around telling every single person that you know that like, these are truths about you. I mean, sure, you've got your, your actual support system, but like, if you work at like a regular 9 to 5 job, you probably shouldn't tell your boss, unless your boss is like minded.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Don't tell your hairdresser. I mean, unless, you get some type of important message that she has to know. But
No,
you just,
I learned better from that. Hmm.
right. You don't do those things. And so, a lot of people just don't really, I think that again, if they don't live with it, it's just so simple. I mean, you're still just a person. So,
Exactly.
at the end of the day.
Hmm.
But kind of, coming back into things,
Hmm.
what's interesting is that, I met V because we were both on another podcast together, neither of ours,
Hmm. Yeah.
Paranormal, and it's a good show. You guys should check it out.
It's great.
It is. So we were both on this show, and it was just kind of a round table discussion. Was it your first time on the show, or no? I don't know if it was.
That was like, I think it was my second time. That was my second time I was on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, it was my first time, and and then we just kind of started talking, and then like slowly over time, we've kind of learned that we're like the same person, and
Basically, I mean, there's so many things that line up, and it's really great. It's really crazy. I'm not going to say creepy because it's cool.
it's fun. Yes, it's very
Yeah.
fun. And a lot of people know, because they follow what I do, and I kind of the way that I do my investigations is that I strictly follow synchronicities. I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm meant to know it, it will present itself, and I will follow that lead. And so synchronicity is a huge, huge part of my life. It's every day when I get in the car
Yeah.
and turn on music, I'm following my playlist, exactly how it should go, and
Hmm.
so that is a big thing that I follow. But there's been so much in this meeting that it's been a lot. Sometimes it's a lot.
I think it's like every time we talk, I'm like, are you serious?
Yes,
I'm like, this is getting ridiculous, but it's in a good way.
you had mentioned the thing about your child being like extra tall, and
Yeah.
my kid is also extra tall. Like she's always been that way. She's just a large kid,
Yeah.
and and it was wild because it was crazy to see the connections go that deep into
Oh my
even like
God.
our children. So
Yeah. It's so crazy. It's, I don't know. I don't know
right.
what's manifesting.
So right, so like we'll talk and like one of us will say something and we're like, oh my God, same,
Or I just saw that yesterday, or I just heard about that today. What's going
Yes.
on? Like, it's
Well,
like this
right. We had that
topic.
with the Rick Roll thing. Yes.
Yeah. And then with Helltown, it was like, what?
Yeah.
That was crazy too.
Well, Helltown was kind of a whole like it was weird. It was like a building up because
It built up.
like prior to this, I had been seeing people reference Helltown for a couple of weeks, and Helltown. If you guys don't know, I was on V's show and we talked about it. I'll link it in the description.
Yeah.
But Helltown, Ohio, is like this abandoned town in Ohio, and there's so much lore to it. And we're going there this spring to do a thorough investigation. And so anyway, but leading up to this, I'd seen so many people talk about it, and they talked about this documentary that came out. And it came out in like 2017, so it's older, and like everybody's been talking about it. It's not a real documentary; it's a mockumentary.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just it was just obscure, and it was so weird that I kept seeing it. And then so V messages me one day, and she's like, "Oh, hey, I had this guy on my show, and he was talking about Helltown, and I know you're from Ohio, and blah 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 blah." And I'm like, That's so fucking crazy because
That was so creepy because I was like, wait. And then, like, you were literally, I think, the second person I knew from Ohio, and we were both talking about it at the same time. It was
talking
just,
right,
it
talking
was
about
creepy.
at the same time. And I think that was like the first big one. And the big thing about Helltown was that for me, was that when I first started the Mothman documentary, which is when I started doing this full time, the first crazy experience that I had where I knew that I was in some shit was a former park ranger telling me stories about Helltown and how he saw this creature there that looked like
Ooh, yeah.
him, that looked like he said Jeepers Creepers, which
Oh no.
kind of looks like the Mothman when you think about it.
Yeah.
And so it all kind of just randomly came, and I'm on my like my winter break, right? So I can't really do much investigating because it's cold here and it sucks and it's snowy and we're outside.
Yeah.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
so I've been kind of on the, my Mothman break, but then like this happens and I'm like, God damn it, I thought, I had, but no, here it comes back again. And it all just kind of came and closed itself. And it's like,
It
here.
did. Remember what I had told you? I was like, I was just talking about that with somebody about Jeepers Creepers, seeing it along the
Yeah.
Rio Grande, and reports about it being seen there. And I remember you talking, I was like, wait, did you just say Jeepers Creepers? Because I was just talking about that with somebody. No, it's creepy. It made the hair on the back of my neck stand up because I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty, and again, synchronicity being part of my life.
Yeah, me too. Mm-hmm.
It's not that, um, it's not that I'm surprised that it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But it is always, it's always very magical when it does. Like
It does. Yeah, there you go. That's the right word.
it's like the kid, it's on Christmas Eve and like,
Yeah.
in the mall and and this big thing's gonna happen, and so that's what it feels like every time it happens. So it's very
Exactly. It's exciting.
so
Totally. I love it.
I'm happy about it because it's not just like, you meet people and of course you're gonna have common interests. So it's not just like me and V talk and she's like,
Yeah.
I like scary movies and I'm like, oh, I do too. It's these deeper things that
No, it's super deep.
are
Yeah.
really obscure.
Mhm. Exactly. And it's not just like stuff on, related to the paranormal and unexplained. It's
Yeah.
like really like similarities in our lives. That's been
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Right. And so it's really interesting. So if you guys ever see me and V going back and forth about, oh, of course it is, or whatever, yeah, you'll be in on the joke now because
Yes, exactly. We go back and forth about it all the time.
because it happens all the time. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, it does happen all the time.
So, but no, it's fun though. So it's pretty exciting. To kind of see where this will go to.
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
But because this show's kind of a girls' night, I
Mhm.
wanted to bring up. I wanted to talk about being a woman in the paranormal field. Now, I don't know how into like the community you are. Uh,
Yeah.
but myself being a woman, and I've kind of explained this before a little bit, but I guess I don't talk about it as much as I probably should. My whole deal is that I want women to feel empowered by what I do. I want women to realize that you can be intelligent and you can also look good doing it. Like there's nothing wrong with being sexy. There's nothing wrong with being, free and liberated and
Mhm.
also be out there in the field doing field research and investigating or, going to college and studying astrophysics. And you can do all the things you're allowed.
Heck yeah.
But it does get me into a lot of trouble, and I understand that because I'm breaking down a norm. And so a lot of the people that are in the paranormal field are a bunch of, I mean, I guess I hate to say it, but they're a bunch of middle-aged men,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
are born at a different time. They got different views. And I have definitely been attacked for my for what I do, but
That's horrible.
they come after like the fact that that I'm a woman, and they're just,
Mm-hmm.
and it is horrible. I mean, have you had a similar experience? Do you think that we're kind of shifting? Do you think that it's kind of hopeless? What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I think that for myself, I haven't experienced anything because like just recently I've been really into this community. But
Yeah.
I think I've seen it, I'd see it, girl, like I do. Um, but I'm seeing more female investigators come out, so I'm really happy. I do see it shifting, I
Yeah.
do. It's getting better, in the sense of how it's, where it was before, it is getting a little bit better,
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with
yeah, but I do see that, and it's unfortunate. I know you told me about that, and I know there's other people in this community that I've talked to, and that also I see communicating on Twitter, and it's just hard, to be out there and be a woman. And when you're, a very beautiful woman, it's like, who did she, you know, sleep with to get where she's at, and it's just like,
and I'm just like, everybody.
yeah, exactly, everyone.
You're right. I'm just
I
like,
don't even entertain it. Yeah, I laugh at that stuff because, like, on social media, like, you're a stranger to me. I don't know you, so I'm just gonna laugh. It doesn't bother me,
listen, I'm just gonna put it out there right now. If I can sleep with you and you can get me to the top, like, send me a DM because
Let's get in my DMs.
right, slide into my DMs, please. We will go. I will come to the top with you.
I will come to the top with you. Literally, that's what she said.
Literally, yes. We will get up that mountain together. I'm just kidding. More power to people that can do that. I mean, hey, good on you. That's you're even more powerful
and that's where you and I are so similar in that, because I think, like, what we've been through in our life,
yeah,
we're just different than a lot of people. I think it's just like that, what we're open to and stuff. So
yeah, I'm very hopeful. I mean, I've mentioned I have a daughter, so of course I want her to grow up and it's a better world.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
I think that it is getting better. I just think that we need to be a little bit more, I guess, louder with it. Not louder with our voices, but I think that, accountability is such a big thing in this field. And it's like, just because somebody is somebody, doesn't mean that we should just sit back and pretend that the things that they do are okay. Now, I'm not talking about anybody in particular. This has been happening for a while, and it's been happening a lot with a lot of different people. But I don't know if you've ever heard of Spook Eats, but she just came out with she's working on getting a book together, and the book is are women in the paranormal field, and it's written strictly by women. Yeah. And
that's great.
It's wonderful. But
awesome.
she's gotten the backing, the help from the Singular Fortean Society, which are really good friends of mine. They run a website. They do Tobias Whalen. He's going to be on the show in the next couple weeks, but he's my Lake Michigan Mothman guy. Anyway,
yeah,
he he mentioned that his wife did the cover art for her book, and they lost a lot of followers because of this. Yeah.
No.
And he says that he obviously he can't prove that it was because of this, but he thinks it was because of the quote unquote gender politics. And
oh God,
but that's the irony of it, is that because you guys like up and left, that's the problem right there. That's exactly the fucking issue. So
yeah, exactly. Oh my God,
why stuff like this needs to exist. And so it is kind of just one of those things. We definitely need more strong women. We need a lot of strong women in the field. We need to pull each other up and help each other. And you're in on that train too, of like supporting fellow content creators in general.
Yeah.
And, I just don't see any reason why you wouldn't want to do those things.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, I see it. I see, and that's the thing about being an empath and all that, it's like a gift and a curse, because, like, I don't have to be talking to somebody on social media to know that they don't like me. I already feel it, they're, if you want to say, I feel the vibes through, through the screen. I mean, I do, I just have to be able to think of that person. I already know if they're for me or not. But I still continue to support people no matter what. If they get too out of line, I just block them. I'm like that with people in my personal life. I don't initiate, I don't talk, I don't get close. But I think it's jealousy, and I really think it's just jealousy comes from the root of despair and suffering and loneliness. And I think it's just knowing that, especially with my spiritual practices, I know, like, okay, like, don't take this shit seriously, like, don't take that person seriously. They're obviously suffering, and that's sad. Send good vibes their way, So yeah, I think it's sad. It's a lot of jealousy and envy, and there's no self-esteem anymore. It's so hard. in this day and
Yeah.
age, because you're obviously, you feel like there's a lot of women that compete with each other.
Yes.
Personally, I don't compete with anybody, and I feel so much peace when I do help other people, even, especially women. Um, and that's what I think too, with what you said, that you want people to feel empowered, women
Right.
specifically, to feel empowered. That's beautiful. That's how it should be. We should keep continuing that. There's
Yes.
something about women coming together that makes something happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like when you and I were kind of talking about this the other day, and you kind of mentioned, it's crazy how these women don't realize how powerful they truly are.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
and it's very unfortunate. But I do think that just overall, not just in the paranormal community, but just people in general, I think that people are finally starting to, take hold of their own lives and their own shit. And they're starting to work through those issues of like
Mhm.
jealousy and insecurity and things like that.
Definitely.
And so we're
Yeah.
kind of starting the shift into better times, which we will see. I mean, it's not going to be, when we're in our 80s, it's not going to be like it is now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going
It's
different.
it's gonna change. Yeah,
It
exactly.
is. It is. And I mean, you can either be a part of that change or you can just sit by and reluctantly watch it happen. And so I would much
Mhm.
rather be a part of something larger than myself personally.
Exactly.
So
Same.
that's what I'm doing. And it's not, and I'm not saying, I'm definitely not like a huge, like, I'm not like a big old feminist or anything like that. 99% of my friends are guys, and I love my guys, and I love men, and I love people in general, I guess. That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So, I will support anybody and everybody that I can in any way that I can.
Mhm.
However, I know that women are in dire need to have that feeling of empowerment.
Yeah.
And, we
Exactly.
need to give them this time to shine to be able to, come into their own. And so that's
Exactly.
how
I
I
couldn't agree with you more. Uh-huh.
that's my stance on it all. But
That's so beautiful. It's
oh, I
beautiful.
know. I try. I sometimes I'm smart and stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm more than just a pretty face, guys. I promise. I'm
There you
also
go.
boobs, so it's.
Hmm. I also got them things up there.
I might have a brain or two.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so well, I don't know. I'm trying to think of any more questions I want to ask. I don't know what to ask you about.
It's
I,
okay.
well, that's okay. Um, I definitely, I think that it would be a good idea. I'm just, I guess I'm
What?
not asking, I'm just telling. I think that it
Mhm.
would be a good idea that after I do this Helltown investigation, I would happily come back on your show and we could kind of do it.
Totally. I want you to. I want you
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of tell everybody, and then that'll be kind of, just for my listeners here. I know you guys watch my stuff. The Helltown investigation, I believe, is going to finally be my YouTube debut. Everybody's been
Hmm.
waiting for this for like years now.
Oh,
I've
awesome.
been so slow at it, but I think that's what I'm finally gonna debut at this with this good investigation, and then I've got other stuff ready to go.
Mhm.
I want to do it big because that's what I do.
Yeah.
But I think that if the first mention of it is on your show, that'll kind of be the exclusive there, and so
That's awesome. Yeah. What an honor
yeah, I think
to
that
have
would be
you.
great. Yeah. Well, it makes
Yeah.
sense. Your listeners, I gave them the treat of telling them my perspective. I have not even talked about Helltown really on my own show.
Hmm.
So, again, I'll link that here. You guys can go listen to that. And, we'll figure that out. But yeah, I think, in the future that would be fun. Is there anything that
Awesome.
you want to shill or put out there or shout outs or whatever you want to do?
Yeah, like shout out first. No, thanks to you for asking me to be on. No, I absolutely love it. I'm going to have you on soon. And also, shout out and sharing the love to all my listeners and my followers on Twitter. If you aren't following me, you can go ahead and follow me at V Life Paranormal on Twitter. I don't have like a real set schedule with my podcast. This week, for instance, like I am releasing something on Saturday. So it is strictly a episode dedicated to, you know, empaths and what I experienced, the dark side of it, and how I got to the, um, let's say, the most fulfilling part is living on that side of the light. So I'm going I'm going to talk about that, you know. So I'm also going to have a special guest. If you guys want to come on again, it's Life Paranormal with V. I'm on all major platforms in the podcast world. So, you know, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, you name it, basically. Also visit my website at www.lifeparanormalwithv.com. I do have all my episodes on there, as well as the link to my merchandise store. So if you want to get some cool stuff, some nice t-shirts, some sweaters, with the Life Paranormal with V logo on it, check it out. I have this really great logo that one of my friends drew up for me. It's sickening. But yeah, follow up on all things paranormal and unexplained. And hopefully, you know, I'll be a guest on your show again, because this has been fun.
I like having you on. I like having people. It's easier to, you know, do it with people that you kind of have more of a personal thing with, obviously, you know.
I feel the same way. Yeah, me too.
So, and you're so on your show, but you want guests to come on, right? You want people with experience.
I love it. Yeah, I love when guests interact with, or sorry, listeners interact with me. Like, by all means, like, you guys have scary stories, true events that have happened with the paranormal and unexplained, please reach out to me. You can do that on Twitter. Or you can also, I believe Anchor has an option where you can leave me a voice message. So go ahead and please do that. I do like to read your stories on air. You can remain anonymous if you want to, but I do welcome that. And, you know, I do have some followers and listeners who are getting lined up to actually be guest co-hosts with me soon. So I'm looking forward to that, you know, because I have some really great stories coming up. Really scary. I mean, they're scary.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Scary. Well, you know, just to give you guys a little teaser for the next time we have V on, V does have alien experiences. Oh, and that's all I'm going to say about it. We're not going to get into it.
Yeah, don't get into it. Don't spoil. Yeah, we're not going to spoil it at all.
You know, but we do have reason to have her back on, not just because she's amazing and beautiful and just, but you know, she's a good topic. So
yeah, I mean, I'm a magnet for this shit, you guys. So I have a lot of stories.
I know you guys love that. So well,
yeah.
But okay, well, I definitely appreciate having you on, and you know, hopefully we see you back here soon.
Awesome. You will, honey. Thank you.
Well, until then, guys, we will see you next Wednesday.
Bye.